Hello my friends. And welcome to my channel English Stories. I hope you are doing well and your family today. Today I will tell you my story how I learned English. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. Let's get started. Part 1. Chapter 1, My Life in London. Hello, my name is Daniel. I am a student of English literature. This is my story. I want to tell you about my life in London. I want to tell you about my fantastic teacher. You can read my story. You can learn English with me. It is a beautiful summer day. I am traveling on a train. 2 women are on the train with me. The women are sitting opposite me. They are speaking English. I don't understand much. I am studying English, but I am a beginner. I don't know many words. I began speaking to the women. I said some words in basic English. The women understood what I wanted to say, and that made me happy. I said that I want to learn English. The women told me that they are from England. They are going home from a conference. Our conversation lasted 10 minutes. The next station was my station. I said goodbye. The women gave me their address and phone number. They told me that I can visit them in England. Then we said goodbye. After this meeting, I worked on my English every day. I translated texts and watched films and documentaries in English. In 6 months, my English improved. It was good now, but I wanted to learn more. I went to London because I wanted to study English there. When I was in London, I joined a school. My first lesson was on Monday. I met my teacher and other students in the class. My teacher was a young and kind lady. She was very nice and humble. We introduced ourselves and then started the lesson. Our teacher had a question for us. She wanted to know our general knowledge about the language. Our teacher told us that she could teach through a very effective method to learn English. This method was very simple. Our teacher told us that we would not have to study, we wouldn't have to read textbooks, but we would have to use English a lot in our daily lives. It turned out to be very effective for me. I did not like studying from textbooks because they confused me. Then we spoke about what is important when learning a new language. Our teacher told us, language is a purpose and a mode of communication. We need languages to communicate. Language helps us express ideas and thoughts. So when you learn a new language, the best method is to use the language to express our feelings and to communicate with other people as much as possible. And this is what we will do in our course. We will speak and use the English language a lot. Many students try to memorize new words. They also study grammar rules. But these students don't use English for speaking. They study the language, but they don't use the language. There is a difference. Of course, you need to learn new words and grammar. But you don't have to study them. You need to practice them daily. In this course, I want to show you a very simple and effective method to learn vocabulary and grammar. I liked what our teacher said. Our lesson continued. We spoke about our hobbies and what we like to do in our free time. We spoke in pairs or with our teacher. I enjoyed taking classes. I was really happy. This system of learning turned out to be very good and effective for me. Chapter 2, How I Learned Vocabulary. I went to school again on Tuesday. One of the students asked a question that was interesting to me. She asked, what is the best way to learn new words? Our teacher replied, there are many things you can do to learn new words. I will tell you what is statistically the most effective way to learn new words. It is reading. When people read, they learn new words in their language twice as fast as people who don't read. It is good to read for at least 30 minutes every day. I want to show you what you should do if you want to get the maximum benefit from reading. First, it is very important that the book or text you read is interesting to you. It is important that you enjoy reading the book. The book can be a nice story, or it can be fictional or non-fictional, whatever your interest is. Don't read a text that isn't interesting to you. If you don't know many words, you might get frustrated. You should always enjoy everything you do while using the language. It is effective to choose a text that is interesting and also appropriate for your level. When you read a text and see a word you don't understand, you should take a dictionary, find the word, and look at its meaning. This will help you understand the text better and increase your knowledge. You won't have to write the word anywhere. The word will automatically stay in your brain, and you will always remember its meaning whenever you see it again. Every time you come across a new word, you will do the same. Reading also has another great advantage. Try it, and you will see how fast you can learn new words. Then we continued with the lesson. We spoke about the situation in England and the best jobs for students. This was good for me because I wanted to get a job. I wanted to do something in my spare time after school. I asked the other students if they knew where I could find a job. They told me that I should go to a job center. The job center offers a lot of jobs, especially for students. This was good for me. I was happy to know where I could find a job. When my day at school was over, I went to the job center. I did not know what kind of job I could do, so I asked the lady at the job center, "What is the best job for a student?" The lady told me that they had some good jobs for students. She told me that I could be a cleaner or a waitress in a cafe. I told the lady that I had no experience with these jobs. She told me that my English was good enough to work at the cafe. The training was not difficult, and I would have more chances to speak English than if I worked as a cleaner. She told me that I could start my job on Thursday. Everything was going well for me. I was happy that I had a job where I could practice English. When you want to learn new words effectively, read for 30 minutes every day. On Wednesday, I went to school again. There was one student in the class who was quieter than the others. He was from South Korea. When our teacher asked if we had any questions for her, this student from Korea said that he had a question. He said that he had a big problem with pronunciation. He knew that his pronunciation was not very good, but he did not know how to improve it. He didn't speak much because he didn't want others to hear his bad pronunciation. He said that he read books and watched films in English a lot. He understood very well, but he also wanted to improve his speaking. He asked if there was something he could do to get better at pronunciation. When my teacher heard this, she said, "Okay, I will tell you something about pronunciation and how to practice it. I will also teach you techniques that can help all of you become better at pronunciation." First, we have to look at why students have problems with pronunciation. When we speak, we have to move our mouths. We have to use the muscles in our mouths. We all do that. The problem is that when you speak English, sometimes you use your muscles the same way you would use them in your native language. Then, your pronunciation is different from the pronunciation of native speakers. This happens to many students who learn English. Almost everybody has a slightly different pronunciation than they should have. In fact, it is not a big problem because people usually understand what you want to say, even if your pronunciation is not perfect. However, you can work on your pronunciation and make it better with a great technique that can help you a lot. The name of this technique was shadowing. The technique was very simple. When you did shadowing, you simply copied the sounds that you heard. When children learned their first language, they learned it by copying. They copied their parents again and again, and one day, their pronunciation became perfect. You could learn English pronunciation the same way. This is what you can do, our teacher said. Take some videos or audio recordings that are not too fast and that you can understand well. Listen carefully and copy what you hear, at the same time as you hear it. That's all. Then, our teacher went to the website youtube.com and searched for the shadowing technique. She found some good videos where the shadowing technique was demonstrated very well. We watched the video together. Then, we all tried to do shadowing for about 3 minutes. After that, our teacher told us, shadowing is also useful when you are preparing for a presentation in English and want to have good pronunciation. Before your presentation, you can go somewhere quiet and do shadowing for about 10 minutes. You will see how much it helps you improve your pronunciation during the presentation. This was very interesting for me. I had never heard about this technique before. When the lesson finished, I went to the school reception. I asked the lady if there were any sports activities at school. I wanted to do some sports in England. The lady at the reception said, "Yes, we have a table tennis team and a football team. The football team has training today at 5 o'clock." I was very happy because sports were very important in my life. I went to the football team training. I met a lot of players from different countries. The players were from Brazil, Spain, Russia, Argentina, Japan, and Italy. I liked the training. I was very happy that my time in England started well. I had a great teacher. I also had some new friends from my football team. Also, tomorrow, I was starting my new job. If you want to have good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers. On Thursday, I went to school again. We had a new student in our class. Her name was Sophia, and she was from Italy. At the beginning of the lesson, my teacher asked Sophia some questions. My teacher already knew Sophia because she had visited her class 1 year ago. Back then, it was a class for beginners, and it lasted only for 2 weeks during the summer holiday. When Sophia spoke, she spoke beautifully. Her pronunciation was very good, and she was fluent. My teacher was very happy and told Sophia, "Your school in Italy must be very good." Sophia smiled and said, "I don't go to any school. I learn English at home. I use techniques that I learned from you. I do a lot of reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. I try to think more in English than in Italian. This is how I work on my English. The 2 weeks I spent in your class last summer helped me a lot. You showed me the way. Now, I know how to work on my English every day. This is why I wanted to join your class again. 1 year ago, I was a beginner, and now I can speak English. I want to learn from you again." Daniel's teacher was very happy when she heard these words. She appreciated Sophia for her hard work. "It's all very interesting for me," Daniel thought. "I already know about reading. I also know the shadowing technique. But Sophia also speaks about thinking aloud. I don't know what it is." So, Daniel asked the teacher, "What is thinking aloud?" The teacher replied, "It is a very effective technique. You have to have a strong motivation to learn English if you want to benefit from this technique. It's also good to know that, for some people, this technique seems a little crazy. But when you start to think aloud, your English can improve very quickly." Daniel said, "I have a strong motivation. I don't care if the technique is crazy. If it helps, I want to learn it. Can you teach us this technique?" The teacher smiled and said, "Okay, it's actually very simple. You think in your native language all day, every time. It's normal. Now, you can start thinking in English. And when you start thinking in English, you can think aloud. You simply say aloud what you think. That's it. It's very simple. Why is it very effective?" The teacher added, "Maybe you can ask Sophia. She uses this technique. Maybe she can tell you more about it." Then, the teacher asked Sophia if it was okay for her to speak about her experience with thinking aloud. It was not a problem for Sophia. She said, "When I started with this technique, it wasn't easy. I began with very simple sentences. For example, I can speak English. It is good that I can speak English. I want to be better. I need to practice every day." Daniel thought to himself. "I don't know many words. But I can use these words. I can say my ideas with these words. I can do this. This is great." The sentences were really simple, but at the beginning, there was one problem. His thinking in Italian was long and complicated. I was not able to say exactly what I wanted in English, but I said it in Italian. He needed to find a simpler way to express himself in English. To think in simple English was the hardest part. But after some time, it became normal for Daniel to think in English. Then, something interesting happened. I met a man from Australia. He was on holiday in Italy. Daniel was still a beginner, but they started to speak in English. He could see that he was able to speak with him without having problems. His sentences were simple and short, but he was able to communicate. He didn't translate in his head from Italian to English. After the meeting with the man from Australia, Daniel started to use the thinking aloud technique more. This technique helped him a lot with his speaking. He still uses it every day. It is really a very effective technique. Our teacher thanked Sophia for sharing her experience with thinking aloud. I wanted to use this technique because I also wanted to get better at speaking. When you want to speak English fluently, think aloud. Advice. When you want to learn English, read, listen, think, and speak. Do each activity for 30 minutes every day. Part 2. Chapter 1, How I Learn Grammar. How I Learn Grammar. After school, Daniel goes to the cafe where his job training starts. He doesn't know what to expect. He has no experience. He is not sure if he can do this job. When he arrives at the cafe, he is very surprised. It is a modern cafe that sells coffee, tea, chocolate cakes, and sandwiches. His boss is only 25 years old. She started working at the cafe more than 2 years ago. She has a lot of experience and knows everything perfectly. She shows Daniel how to prepare coffee, wash the dishes, and deal with customers. It's all new for him. He remembers only about 20% of what she tells him. But then she lets him do the work and corrects him when he makes a mistake. She is very friendly, and Daniel learns fast. After the first day at work, he is very tired. But he is happy that he has a job. The next day is Friday, and Daniel goes to school again. One student asks an interesting question: sometimes when I speak, I am not sure if I speak correctly. I am not sure if I use correct grammar. Can you help me? What should I do if I want to learn grammar? Our teacher says, thank you for your question. There are 2 groups of students. Some students study English because they want to be able to speak. Some students study English because they want to pass an exam. For each group, the situation is different. First, I will speak about the students who need English for speaking. If this is you, you don't have to study grammar a lot. When you learn your native language, you also learn it without studying grammar. You can learn English grammar naturally by using the language. The best way to learn grammar naturally is by reading a lot. Books are written in good grammar. When you read, you will learn grammar in the context of the whole sentence. I also recommend shadowing. When you do shadowing, you practice the correct grammar. You do it naturally. You don't have to try to remember anything. You only copy sentences with correct grammar. If you need English for speaking but also want to study grammar, you can visit grammarinlevels.com. This website shows what grammar is important for the different levels of English. You can find the most important grammar rules for speaking there. The second group of students are those who study English for passing an exam. If you are one of these students, I recommend studying specifically for this exam. You can take the versions of this exam from the past years if it is possible and train with them. Of course, your exam will be a little different, but the structure is usually the same or very similar. From my point of view, the versions of the exam from the past years are good training materials. Then I recommend going to the exam only when your results in the training materials are such that you can pass the exam successfully. Did I answer your question? Yes, thank you, says the student. This is good news. I don't like studying grammar. I learn English because I want to be able to speak. I don't need to pass any exam. I am happy that I don't have to study grammar much. I like reading and I am happy that I can learn grammar by reading books. After the lesson, I go to the website grammarinlevels.com. It is really a nice website. There are grammar rules with examples for each level. They have 3 levels. These levels are 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 words. In the afternoon, I go to my work. It is my second day and I can already do a lot of things by myself. But my boss helps me when I need it. I see that my work is not very difficult. Also, I can practice English when I speak to our customers. Moral. When you want to have good grammar, read a lot. Chapter 2, How I Test My English. It's Monday again, and I go to my school. Our teacher asks us what we did at the weekend. I say that I was at work on Saturday. I say that I can already do my work well. I say that I am happy when I can speak to our customers. When I speak, one of the girls in the class asks me, "What happened to your voice? You sound very different from what we heard last week. Your pronunciation is very good." I smile and I say, "Thank you, I used shadowing on Saturday evening after my work and the whole Sunday. I tried to speak like a native speaker. I know that it's not perfect, but I also see a big change in my pronunciation." Our teacher asks if other students tried to practice shadowing. 3 students say yes. One of them is the student from South Korea. He also likes this technique. One student says that she tried the technique but her mouth was in pain after 5 minutes of shadowing and she stopped. She also says that she wasn't always able to repeat everything because the recording was very fast. Our teacher says, "Thank you for trying out this technique. If you do shadowing for the first time and your mouth is in pain after 5 minutes, you're doing it correctly. You need to train your muscles to this new way of speaking. It's like going to the gym for the first time. Your muscles can hurt if they are not trained. If the muscles in our mouth hurt, you can take a break after 5 minutes of shadowing and continue a bit later. With every 5 minutes of practice, your pronunciation gets better." Shadowing has other advantages as well. You practice the correct pronunciation in English, and you also practice other things, for example intonation, rhythm, and connecting words in whole sentences. I know that at the beginning, the recording can sometimes be very fast for you. If this happens, you can repeat only the first or the last word in the sentence. With practice, you will be able to repeat more. I say that it is true. On Saturday, when I started with shadowing, it was difficult for me. But on Sunday evening, it was easy to repeat what I heard. Then I have a question for our teacher. I tell her that I looked at grammarinlevels.com. The website is interesting, but I don't know what level is for me because I don't know how many words I know. Our teacher asks other students if they know how many words they know in English. It is interesting to see that nobody knows. We know that we are intermediate students but we don't know how many words we know. Our teacher says, there is a website for people who study foreign languages. You can do a test there. You can know how many words you know. The test has only 2 steps and it is really simple. The name of the website is preply.com, you will find the link in the description below. You can do the test every month and you can see how much you improved during that month. If you want, you can now take your smartphones and go to that website and do the test. I am really interested in knowing how many words I know. I do the test immediately. I find out that I know 2,500 words in English. Most of the students know between 2,000 and 2,500 words. Only Linda and the boy from South Korea know 250 words. Our teacher says, so, you can see that when you go to grammarinlevels.com, you should already know grammar from level 2. You can start using grammar from level 3 because level 3 is for students who know between 2,000 and 3,000 words. Moral: test your progress every month. Chapter 3, How I Handle Mistakes. On Tuesday, I go to school again. One student asks our teacher an interesting question. She says, I want to practice speaking with people around me but I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. Can you help me? Our teacher says, making mistakes is a very interesting topic. There are a lot of opinions on this topic. I want to show you what I believe is the best to do. I have a lot of experience with this because I also learn new languages. For example, now I am learning Spanish. When I speak Spanish, I don't care if I make mistakes or not. The reason why I don't care about mistakes is simple. When I learned my native language, I didn't care about making mistakes. Mistakes weren't important for me. My main goal when I use any language is to say my ideas. That's all. I know that when I read a lot, speak, and do shadowing, my Spanish will be better and better. I know that this can look very simple, but it is my opinion. This is what I've learned after many years of teaching and learning languages. It works very well for me and many of my students. When I speak, I only concentrate on speaking. At the moment, I know 1500 words in Spanish. It is the level of a 2-year-old child. 2-year-old children make a lot of mistakes when they speak, but they don't care about their mistakes. They continue using their native language, and when they are 3 years old, they make very few mistakes. And then, when they are 4 years old, they usually speak very well. You can do the same. Now most of you know about 2000 words. So it is absolutely okay to make mistakes from time to time. When you continue using English, there will be fewer and fewer mistakes in your speaking. It is not possible to go to a higher level if you don't make mistakes. When you practice English, it is okay not to be perfect. Perfection comes with practice. All people who started to learn English, started from the beginning, from the same level, from level 0. Learning languages is like learning to play a musical instrument. It needs to be trained. When you start your training, it is not perfect at the beginning, and you make mistakes. It is normal. Take it as a necessary part of your learning process. If you don't go through this period of making mistakes, you can't get to higher levels. When you continue to use English, the mistakes can step by step go away. If you want to make fewer and fewer mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. When you read, you can read aloud. It can also help you make fewer mistakes. In real conversations, care only about exchanging ideas. Don't care about making mistakes. When you speak, you practice changing your ideas into words. You don't learn grammar or words. You have other activities for it. Don't worry. Everybody who learns a foreign language makes mistakes sometimes. Famous people, bosses of big companies, or politicians make mistakes too. When you listen to these people on TV, you see that they don't care about mistakes. They care about what is important, and that is saying their ideas. You can do the same. Does it make sense? The girl says, "Yes, thank you." Moral: if you don't want to make mistakes, do a lot of reading and shadowing. Advice: to enhance your language skills in English, dedicate 30 minutes each day to reading, listening, and speaking. Immerse yourself in diverse materials to boost comprehension and fluency effectively. Thanks for watching. Watch more.